Good evening, and welcome to the conversation with me, Pastor Strike. And today's conversation at health, our health issues that are very, very, and I'm happy evening that I'm not alone on the conversation, but I have an expert. I have my brother who is an expert in this field because one thing that concerns me so very much, and I must say to all my friends, all my brothers, that is why most of the time when we go for the conversation and looking specifically on health issues, I would even single out and say, man, man. Uh, but honestly, when we talk of health conditions, we talking of across, it because these conditions they affect all of us, be it women, be it children, be it the aged, everybody else. We all are affected by these different conditions. But I love to bring in men for one specific reason because we are culprits when it comes to our health issues. We not very, very, very much keen to go for issues like, medical checks or health checks and the like. But this is out of love. It's not out of fighting or saying they are cowards, but it's out of love for us as men and the role that we play in families, in society. When a father passes on, when a man dies, I'm telling you, look at how life just turns around just like that. And of course, life has got a way of targeting men. We are said to be at a high risk in most of the things, be it work related, be it the way we drive, the way we lead our lives. We are at a high risk in most of the conditions. But I want to take this time and welcome you all, my friends who are joining us on Facebook, Bold Moves Radio Facebook page, those who are joining us also on the Bold Moves Radio YouTube, and those of you who are joining us direct from Bold Moves Radio. I just want to take this time, welcome you all, and appreciate you all. Thank you for coming through. Oh my God, let me see. I think I did injustice here because I was I was talking from a mic that was a little bit far from me, and maybe that is why some of you could not hear me properly. But I think now I have taken the mic that is closer. But I was still saying, I just want to take this time to welcome you all, my brothers and sisters, to welcome you all, my friends that are joining us on Bold Moves Radio. Those of you who are joining us on Bold Moves Radio, Bold Moves Radio YouTube, Bold Moves Radio Facebook page. Thank you so very much for coming through, because tonight on the conversation we have a special guest, and I know that he is going to really touch us in a special way as we open up, as we seek to learn a lot of things when it concerning our health. And that is none other, friends, that is none other family than Dr. PJ Senoamadi. Dr. PJ Senoamadi is a multi-award-winning medical practitioner and a health and wellness coach. He's also an inspirational speaker, and he's based in Polokwane and Mokopane. And I've come to know him because of his activities when it comes to a condition, diabetes. And he is spot on. And that is why we made sure that today we are hosting this great man to help us zoom into these issues. Dr. Senoamadi, good evening and welcome to the conversation.
Good evening, Pastor Strike, and good evening, the listeners. If you thought I'm not grateful for this opportunity, you could be wrong. I'm really honored and feel blessed to be talking to my people, to be talking to my men in an open space, because normally we find ourselves confined to a small space talking one-on-one with men, but we feel that's not enough. We need great platforms like Bold Moves Radio, whereby many lives can be touched. Yes, my name is Dr. PJ Senoamadi. I'm a medical practitioner for over 20 years. And over the years, I've realized that men do die at the age of 35 to be buried at the age of 65 or more. While real men get buried, they die at 95 and be buried at 95 or more. But most men, they just die at 85 years of age. And I always say, If you wake up without a plan, go back and sleep.
Go back to bed. Go back.
Yeah, if you would wake up without a plan, go back to work, to bed.
Mm.
And if you are not ready for wellness and health and good health, start preparing yourself for illness. If you are not ready for wellness and good health, start preparing for illness. And maybe you can tell us better how illness can be. But as well rightfully said, Pastor Strike, that yes, it's good to be talking to our men. It's good to be talking about diabetes, which today is going to be a very big challenge, mostly as a health challenge, but also as an economic challenge.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Doc, exactly what you said, as a motivational speaker, you say, if you wake up without a plan, go back to bed, because, man, and, like you said, many die at age 25, only to be buried at 90, my God, or at 60. And that means one has been dead all this time. But Doc, thank you so very much coming through. And just to hit the ground running, tell us a little bit about yourself, about your experience. The 20 years of experience in the medical fraternity has positioned you very well. And your experience, especially when it comes to men and our health issues, wellness and health, that's you, Just before we ask any question, because I would love to invite all my participants on Facebook, even on YouTube, to ask whatever they would love to ask. But before that, tell us a little bit about yourself, Doc, and the experience that you have with men and with people in general when it comes to health and wellness, and when it comes to different conditions like diabetes, like hypertension, and all these conditions, renal problems, and all that.
I must say, it's not easy to talk to men, and it's not easy to talk about men and health. And obviously, we're going to talk about men and sexual health. But we know that men are not very fond of doctors. I've started my career at Polokwane Provincial Hospital, where in the early 20s, and it was a challenge that you find most time people you are seeing is women who happen to come to see the doctors. And it also happened that even when I started my practice for Fowler Medical Center as a director of Fowler Medical Center, we have in 3 branches now in Mokopane, Polokwane, and also in Makwelering. But I'm also a director of Alma Clinics, which is based in Soweto. I'm also a founder of the Folland Trust, whereby for many years studying, as I started work, I realized that diabetes was not, in fact, people are not taking better care of themselves. And that's when we decided that as much as there's 4 stages of taking care of oneself. Number 1 is education and wellness and awareness. Number 2 is screening. Number 3 is testing. Number 4 is treatment. Number 5 is support and care. But what all people want is treatment.
Okay.
The issue of awareness and education doesn't feature. And with me being in the practice, you see same patient coming to the practice, and you tell them, you give them medication or prescription, go and take this prescription. The man will come next week and say come next week for follow-up. He will come to you for follow-up, but will say, did you fetch the prescription? He said, no, doc, I'm still going to fetch it. But then why did you come? Which is not a question we can ask, but you find this man say, I came to you today for the appointment, but I haven't got my medication. And this man is diabetic, and diabetes is this kind of condition, which is like when you're putting your fist in boiling oil, it slowly burns it. Diabetes burns all the body parts. And we see some old men coming with a granddaughter or so in the evening by 7 o'clock. In the morning, and you give them medication. In the morning, it's already at your doorstep, and you say, doc, the medicine is finished, but the baby is still sick. You gave him medication at 7 in the evening because he has a sick granddaughter, He comes 7 o'clock in the morning and say, Doc, the medication is finished. The baby is still sick. You can tell here, I'm not sure what the problem you can diagnose now, but you can tell there are problems with our people. He doesn't take prescription, doesn't take medication, and he's diabetic. He'll tell you, no, my diabetes doesn't give me problems. So over the years, we realized here there's a problem, and we know that by dealing with patients one-on-one, we won't assist. Then that's when we wanted for more knowledge and more wisdom. As they say, my people perish because of lack of knowledge. We had to join with one of our great friends, Mr. Willington Mokwena, who is part of the church. We joined what we call Center of Diabetes and Endocrinology.
Okay.
Center of Diabetes and Endocrinology. You'll know that this information was mostly reserved for white people. We found ourselves in Horton attending courses and everything, and we just got so inspired. After finishing some of the courses, we said we're going back to our communities. After that, we had to join an organization called South African Diabetes Association, which is part of the International Diabetic Federation, which in 1991, they decided to host what we call World Diabetes Day. And we joined hands with International Diabetic Federation, Diabetes South Africa. We became our center, Forlang, became one of the centers in South Africa, whereby we were able to start teaching people all over Africa. But then we felt we should start going to communities, educating them about diabetes, and also having support groups where we have men and women, whereby we teach them. Until we had such a point that these people were teaching becoming educators in their own communities, whereby they learn that they are not diabetic, they are just living with diabetic. And then we're able to have many people who go to radio stations and on as patients. And we came to a point, every session, if you happen to have a wedding or whatever in families, there must be a speaker who speaks about diabetes and related conditions. Things changed when COVID came and it changed all the plans, and so we lost so many of our patients. But we're still very much eager to teach. That's why we say now we're having a clinic in Soweto. We call it Alma Clinics, which is AI-driven non-communicable conditions clinic, whereby we should be using artificial intelligence to treat clients. But we are saying, despite all this, diabetes is still a challenge. And diabetes becomes much of a challenge more to men, because this diabetes is able to hit men below the belt. Most men, diabetes has beat them below the belt.
Yes. You know, Doc, I'm so touched to realize that your passion has taken you to really zoom in, seek knowledge, contacts, and even establish Forlang to make sure that you're running this and also going to communities. And you said there are stages, of course, the beginning being awareness. Let's talk of awareness. What is it that, even in this platform, because I believe, we believe I'm okay until I drop down, until I am diagnosed. It's not, like you said, it's not our culture is meant to go for checkups and the like. But when we talk of awareness, what is it that we're looking at? And what can you say to our participants, both male and female? Because Hanchi, right, it's until getting when stuck, and then I realized, I'm in trouble. When you look at awareness, what are some of the things that you would love us to be really aware of concerning our health, even in general?
Let's be honest. Most of us don't take great care of our health. We walk off injuries. You may not pay attention to signs that say something is wrong. You don't go to see the doctor. Even research says if you go to the doctor, you don't want to hear bad news. But that bad news means you won't get to hear what is good news either. So we know that we take better care of our cars and other tools than our own selves. We know we spend more money on other people than ourselves. maybe we will blame it on ignorance, but we know that we can be ill. And they say men never go to the doctor, but we know men never get sick, but they die. We keep on burying each other, and we know that the biggest killer is women, not illness. Yeah, when men dies, they say it's the wife who did this and that, and as families and even men are able to join into that discussion. But yes, talking about awareness is important for us as men and as people to know that we need to balance our lives. We say, I normally ask the question, how balanced is your life? And I believe there are 4 areas of your life. Number 1 is your health, which is your first wealth. Your health is your first wealth. Number 2 would be your relationships. Relationship with self, relationship with loved ones, and relationship with God. The third aspect is your profession. And I always tell people, I'm Dr. Senoamadi, I'm from Ramatlala, Tenerife. And in Ramatlala, Aramela, where I come from, when we celebrate somebody who's graduating for a crèche or a preschool, we kill 2 cows. When we celebrate for somebody who have some diploma or some what, we don't even come to your session. So I'm telling people, if you haven't done masters, don't tell people you come from school. You are from school. In my village, when we celebrating crèche, we wear those red gowns.
Okay.
Yeah. So if we're not planning to wear that red gown, you haven't done your masters, your PhD, you are failing Africa. We need Africans who are going to write African stories.
Yes.
So that's the aspect of your career and your profession. But the biggest one, which is just after health, is your assignment, your purpose, your seed, which I will say you are born a business person. Why are you not in business? But I also say every generation have to discover its mission, either portray it or fulfill it. I know the generation before my father, they were relying on manual works where they were working in the fields and so on, and school didn't feature in any way. And if you were to go to school, you were considered Bari. But the generation after, where they went to school, they wanted to have professions like myself, be teachers, be doctors and everything. But now the cheese has moved, whereby everybody, now we must be competing with global communities. We must be in business. And you are not in business, and I'm worried. So I'm saying you are born with in your fist that was closed because there was a seed, there was assignment, there was a purpose. So the generation here today, we must be in business, make sure Africa can compete with the world. The Bible says we must have dominion over the things of this earth. And when they say be fruitful, multiply, subdue, it means that you have that seed, you must multiply it, replicate it, manage and govern, and be a leader. We're all born business people. That's what I'm saying. In spade, the foreigners have come here, they are taking big stakes, and we are just competing for soup. And now, if you are not careful when you get home, you might find that the Pakistan own your yard. The foreigners, the Bible says the foreigners will come disguising as, and they'll be taking the land and they'll be in charge. So I'm talking about Africans standing up for themselves, and you check or in the health industry, Mediclinic is not owned by blacks, Netcare is not owned by blacks, Life on, you go to automobile industry, engine is not owned by blacks, share is not owned by blacks, and you go to insurance, Salam is not the same, and everywhere. So I'm saying let's stand up as black people. But going back to health, the first, if you wake up without a plan, go back and sleep, go to bed. And the first thing about health is your breakfast. You know you have eaten your lunch, you have eaten your dinner at 7, and you wake up at 7 in the morning. If you don't have breakfast, you must know that is a long fast. That's why you call it, you must break the fast.
Okay.
If you can't do that, maybe you should take that body and give it to somebody else. Because, yes, you must break the fast. And when you talk about proper eating, we will say, what is a meal? A meal comprised of 3 things. this thing of eating, when you eat, you found that you can't see the other part of the other side because there's a very big pap in front of you. Must stop.
Mm.
The bigger portion should be veggies,
Okay.
the greens and the red and the whatever. That's the bigger part. We must not eat taste. We must eat purple. People say it's not taste, it's not no. You must know the pap you like is like a fire made of paper. It burns quickly. You must keep on eating the whole day. That's why mothers they always in the kitchen preparing breakfast, lunch, and supper for you because you're eating too much pap. So if you eat much veggies, the veggies can stay longer in the gut.
Wow.
Then the bigger portion will be pap, will be veggies, a bit of starch, and a bit of proteins, and little fat. We're talking about health. And the second part about it, we'll talk about exercises. It's very important that you manage.
That's profound. My dear viewers and listeners, you are welcome. You know, Dr. Senoamadi is coming so powerfully and holistically so. You know, it's not only looking at health, but it says we must be healthy in all these areas of our lives, be it our health, be it our relationships, be it in our professions, you know, our purpose of life, business, and all these things, because some of these challenges, you know, they emanate from some of the things that we are not healthy on. So our lives becomes a serious challenge. I invite you also to drop in your question, drop in your comment. I see Pretty Skosan saying, good evening, watching from Durban. This is profound. Thank you so very much. I see also Roland Baloy saying, true, doctor, we need awareness of illness to be able to fight them. And that's very true. So this is the conversation. On the conversation, we all engage and we have our doctor to help us professionally and to guide us through so that we are able to come out of this conversation with something that you can take home for yourself. So if you have a question, you are welcome to ask, and we'll really appreciate and we'll allow Doc to answer that question. Doc, let's talk about one of the things that, you know, you talk of wealth, you talk of even breakfast. Let's talk about eating, because some of, like diabetes itself, what you spoke about breakfast, but let's go all the way and look. Of course, you talk about taba ela riskeraja taba yabohobe, because it's not doing us any good, and the veggies and a little bit of starch there and the proteins here and there. But looking at our day to day, how do we begin? Because this is something that must not be occasional, but this must be our lifestyle. How do we start preparing ourselves to be eating healthy so that we are able to maybe fight this? And then after that, let's look at the symptoms of diabetes itself. How do I get to know? What are the signs? What are these signals that, hey, my health is, or diabetes it's in me? How do I begin to detect that? So if you could maybe help us on starting, you know, starting is very much important. You know, the year starts, we've got resolutions. By March, we forgot about resolutions. How can one really make this their lifestyle?
I think we need to understand that we are not immortal beings.
Yes.
We are normal people, almost like what they do for the cars. When you buy a new car, they say you must take it for service after 15 Ks, whatsoever. But starting with what diabetes is. Diabetes is just a normal condition whereby the food we eat turns into energy, which you might say is like petrol in the car.
Okay.
But that energy that you need to move and do everything need to be regulated. And there's a regulator in the body, which you call insulin.
Oh, yes.
And this insulin, it needs to bring down the sugar when it's high. Unfortunately, you find that the body might not be able to regulate it. The body might not have enough insulin, or the body might not be able to recognize the insulin in the body. So then you tend to become diabetic. But we know that diabetes used to be a disease of the affluent, We used to think it's a disease in America, India, and so on. But because we live in their lifestyle, which is their death style, which is a diet style, we are now into a death style. Yes, we are all the same, and we know that men are more likely to get diabetes, even at a lower weight than women. We used to believe that you have diabetes when you are bigger, but men, because of they keep fat in the bellies, they even when they are lean, we can be diabetic. So there are two types of diabetes: type 1 and type 2. Type 1 is that kind of diabetes whereby people have it when you are young because the body doesn't have insulin at all, and type 2 is when the body doesn't recognize insulin when you are a bit older, maybe after 20 years or so. But the symptoms, as you asked, it's like an open tap.
Okay.
It affects you. People find themselves very thirsty, and as they drink, the water just goes out. Like an open tap. You drink, water goes out. You'll find people keeping 5 liters of water in the car or something, keep on drinking, but they keep on getting thirsty.
Okay.
That's one of the main reasons. Some are lucky to have symptoms, some are not. I must say, if we have 1,000 people who are diabetic, you must know half of them don't know that they have diabetes. If you have 1,000 people, half of them don't know that they have diabetes. And of this 1,000, if half of them don't know that they have diabetes, of this half that knows, they are doing nothing about it. They don't care about it. Half of them are not doing anything. And for those who are doing something about it, half of them, there's nothing more they can do because the disease is finished. So as you can check, if you have whatever percentage, 50% of people don't know that they have diabetes, and 50% of those don't know, they don't do anything about it. And those who do something about it, the disease have already finished. And when you talk about symptoms, and like I said, dry mouth, dizziness, polyuria, which you go to toilet many times, and many other symptoms. But the biggest challenge becomes complications. Diabetes, they say if you have an enemy, diabetes is a disease that you might not wish even your worst enemy to have. Can you imagine an enemy or somebody who enjoys walking, who cannot walk anymore because the foot have been amputated? Can you imagine somebody who used to like talking, who cannot talk anymore because of stroke? Somebody who used to see and who cannot see anymore. Somebody who used to live sex and so on and the penis cannot stand anymore. Can you imagine? That's the kind of disease you cannot wish for even to your worst enemy. You talk diabetes, the kind of the disease that normally don't kill us, but you'll be there alive, but you'll be finished. And we have seen it. And normally when we see our patients in the rooms, our wish is to say, as Dr. Senoamadi and my team of nurses and doctors, I must be able to see you, be able to face you in the eyes in the next 5 or 10 years. Because if you're sitting in front of me and I can't change your way of life, I can't transform you and make sure that you will still be, because you don't know. I'm the one who knows. If I cannot turn you into somebody who start understanding life and who starts taking care of himself, in the next 5 years, I will not be able to face you in the eyes. I know I would have failed you. So the wish is to educate, aware, screen, and in Makweleren, where we are based in Mokopane, we will be hosting our World Diabetes Day, the 11th, for that matter, on the 3rd of December in Makweleren Stadium. And we started this mission in 2012.
Okay.
When we started doing our first World Diabetes Day, and during this day, what we do is we start with a race, 5 kilometer, 10 kilometer, and 21 kilometers run. We also have the painful diabetic walk, where we walk with our patients. We walk with families, where we take a 5 kilometer and people can see and experience the pains and the challenges that diabetic patients face, because maybe. So I must say, over the years, we have changed the face of Mokopane. I remember the first event we had, people just came and ran. They just said 10 kilometers whatsoever. But after running, they were dead tired. And they learned that they must prepare for the race.
Yes.
So every day you wake up in Mokopane, there's somebody running.
Okay.
Preparing for diabetes day for.
Okay.
People wake up every morning preparing for that day, so that not to win the race, but so that they can finish the race. And it became a lifestyle in our communities. And now, as we are taking to different communities in Zibidiela, in Kwankua, and everywhere else, we get invited, and we can see people starting to realize is your health is your first wealth, and you, the diabetic, must know more about your condition more than any doctor, any nurse, or any exotic medical device. And we are saying a diabetic who knows the most lives the longest. And we know that diabetic always come with its friends and cousins. Hypertension, cholesterol, cancers, and many others. We call them non-communicable conditions. And we do talk about these days you have to know about drop and die, death and sleep, and other problems. And which we apply in our language, and we speak or stronger. If you who died, we know we don't know is that cholesterol, is that diabetes, not yeah.
Sure. And then Roland here says, how does one check if they have diabetes, doc, even without showing symptoms? Like you said, some there will be no symptoms really showing, but how does one check, or what must one do to make sure that they know about their condition?
Yeah, it's a tough one, because the truth is, by the time you are diagnosed diabetes, you should know that this condition has been with you for more than 10 years. Meaning complications have already set in. If you realize you need to start working very hard. And we believe programs like this one, Pastor Strike, whereby we're able to share what we know with people, are very much important. It's that's when we say awareness and education are key in healthcare. Screening is very important when you realize that I might be having these symptoms. Testing is the next thing that you must, from time to time, do. At Falang, we believe every family must have a glucometer, whereby they're able to test themselves from time to time. As much as they say you need to test your car for oil, you must also test your cholesterol and your sugar. But yes, but also having to talk about this diabetics, and if you have to talk about men, we know that diabetes have a way of causing erectile dysfunction.
Yes.
We know diabetes have a way of reducing testosterone levels. And we know then when your testosterone levels are low and we have erectile dysfunction, is when a man cannot keep erection firm enough for sex. And we know that's the time when men, 35 years of age, they die, because they've been looking forward to be married life and this and that, and only to find that things not more functioning. Yeah. And the next question I'll ask, who do you think enjoys sexual intercourse between men and women? Who enjoys more? Who prefers this issue of sex between men and women?
Men.
People always say men, and I take the answer, but it's the wrong one. If you happen to be a man and you happen to propose this to this woman, in fact, I should also ask the question: who does more proposing? Is it men or women? It's women. Men want to say it themselves, but they know that women have eyes, they have the brain, and they have everything. Women, what they can do, they'll and they'll give you attention. And if you talk about speaking, that's the last thing. the process has been taking place without you as the man noticing. So, and even if you go to the issue of sex, if you could say men are the ones that are, men prefers, they are like chickens. Within a minute they are finished and they are happy. When you take women, women after you marry that woman, she's always in the house. Men, once they marry, they go out of the house. And men, after they are married, they still keep their friends, they still keep their families, they still keep their ball, soccer, they still keep their alcohol, they still keep whatever. But women, once they are married, they stay in the household, closer to a bed, closer to the bed. If you didn't hear me properly, women are always around the bed, and you men don't know. You come late, you think women don't like it. It's because the time has passed. Because they have this thing in their mind. They know what time to do what, and you don't know. That's why you come very late. You think you want sex, they say no, 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 until they offer you sex. After a minute, where are you? You are on. You can even fart. You can even fart. It shows that you are happy. And the poor woman, it's the reason we have so much of a GBV is because women have lost interest in sex. Because of men, and when they lose it, we think they've got other extramarital affairs. But why not? They might have them because you are not doing it. I just want to say the issue of sexual intercourse should be, when last have you taken your spouse to Spare for lunch or so? But let's also look at this fact. As you're growing up, they were saying before you play soccer, main match, you mustn't sleep with women. And I know some guys will always say, Mena, I sleep with a woman and still play good. But now you know that you didn't do well with the woman.
Okay.
You didn't do well, a good work with the woman. Because research says sexual intercourse is more tiring than that soccer of yours.
Oh, yes.
And unfortunately, they say in Africa, sexual intercourse takes 45 minutes. 43 minutes, a woman and a man will be fighting. For sexual intercourse, take 45 minutes. For 43 minutes, they'll be fighting about it. It's only only lasts 2 minutes. In short. So, what does diabetes do to erectile dysfunction? So imagine a situation whereby there's no awareness and you now have diabetes. You are dead meat. And you don't have time. Yes.
On that note, a question says, what is the acceptable normal glucose level on one's body or blood?
Yes, good question. Acceptable glucose level is between 3 and 6. We might say 4, yes, 4, 5, 6 is normal, but we do find people with sugar levels of 33. And they say, Doc, I'm fine. You say, no, let's try this and that. Doc, I'm fine. But the acceptable level is between 3, 4, 5, 6. That's the normal sugar levels. And it could go to 7, 8 after eating. That'll be normal.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then this disease is life altering. How does this disease affect one psychologically?
Yeah, diabetes is a killer. As we said, it's a serious problem. It's a serious health problem, but it's also an economic problem.
Yes.
Because if I was a breadwinner and I cannot see anymore, if I was a breadwinner and I have stroke, if I was a breadwinner and I have renal failure and I have to dialyze somewhere in town and I was staying 200 kilometers away from town, is a challenge. I just had a patient much recently who is a teacher. The husband is diabetic and has all the complications now. And the poor female teacher has decided that she maybe, because she's going to work on daily basis and the husband has become a burden. Maybe the husband can stay with the family, the mother and the sisters. They will take better care, and she only see the husband during weekends. And she found that yes, diabetes changed the configuration, especially complications. They change the configuration of the family because yes, they changed the total configuration of the family. And she found that the family were not taking proper care of him anymore. They were saying, we have given him food. If he doesn't eat, we don't. About toilet, they were saying we have given him something. If he doesn't want to, she thought that when she takes this person with the family, they will take better care, but they don't. They were not, like you're saying. And once you are diabetic, you become an object.
Yeah.
You are no more alive, whether you're a breadwinner or so. And yeah, so I must say, I wouldn't wish it even for my worst enemy.
Yeah. And Doc, like you know that you always say there are two types of diabetes. That is type 1 and type 2. Will you please draw a line of separation between the two types?
Yes. Type 1, we used to say is juvenile onset diabetes, which normally affects younger people from birth to maybe below 20 years. And then the other one is type 2, used to say is adult onset diabetes, which normally happens when we're of an older age. And we are saying type 1, as I indicated earlier, that we talk about insulin, we talk about the beta cells in the body. We're saying that there is no beta cells in type 1. Beta cells are the kind of cells that produce insulin. So you find that the body, there's no insulin in type 1. So that's why when you talk about treatment in type 1, we just start giving young ones insulin. We give injection. People hate injection so much, but I must also indicate that the first injection was introduced in 1932. And type 2 diabetes is managed with tablets.
Okay.
And the commonest tablet is metformin. And there are other number of tablets that can be used. But because we're talking about the beta cells, which are producing insulin, there comes a time that these beta cells cannot produce insulin anymore. And type 2 diabetics have to use insulin. And that's when that separates real men from real men. And I'm saying Africa. And the biggest challenge of insulin or injection to men is not that patients fear injection. It's doctors or healthcare workers who fear injection. I was one of them who used to fear injections. If a patient could come to me and I say I'm on injection, I'll find a way of stopping the patient from using that injection. Until I had to go and school myself. And thanks to the gods, I had to travel all over. I had to go to America, India, China, and to learn more about this diabetics and to see how best it can be treated. I must say the differences is that age, and the other difference is the how we treat it. Young ones use insulin from start, older ones we use tablets, and then later we also have to use insulin.
And Doc, I would love us to come to treatment, but before then, because I remember my mom, when my brother, the last born in the family, was born, my mom was on insulin, and she lived until he got married. That's how long she lived. We've seen her inject herself very early, and but the latter part was very rude, because that's what took her life, where it affected her organs. She could no longer hear, she could no longer see, all that. But every disease has some myths. What are the common myths when it comes to diabetes?
Yes, because there are so many myths that comes with non-communicable conditions, especially diabetes, especially in Black communities. because we don't have the knowledge. One of those myths you think about, the issue of being bewitched.
Oh yes.
The issue of when the leg is, when you have something, they say fola. When somebody, because you can collapse from diabetes, they say oh, yeah, they will say oh, like a lawyer if it's an older person, and so many of those. If you have somebody that automobile, because when I indicated earlier, when you have diabetes and urinate a lot, they say you slept with the wrong woman, and many others, and you can share with your experience from where you grew up as a strike. Do you have some few that you could share with us?
In fact, that's very true. When it comes to men health or men's sexual health, one of the things that would really be a challenge is any condition utsamaile wrong. And all those, and also one of the things that becomes our focus as men generally is sexual boost type of medication, which some are concoctions. You see people selling some liters of concoctions, and it's shocking to find men stopping their cars and buying these things. And of course, it's about, I must be sexually okay and all that. But in the process, neglecting the checkups until things are very, very much bad. Let's maybe now look at the treatment. Look at the treatment. If we have been aware, and if we go for screening and then maybe pick it up, even though, like you said, that by the time you know, sometimes it's very late, which then says the culture of checkups becomes very much important. The normal checks time and again, then that becomes important. But let us talk of treatment. I just said that my mom took insulin, and the last born in the family was born when mom was taking insulin, until the boy grew up, got married, and his own family. So what are the chances in treatment? You have traveled the world, you have worked with diabetes. What are the treatments, and what can you advise us?
Like we indicated, you wake up without a plan, go back and sleep, go to bed, and health is your first wealth. It's important that we appreciate that God has given us two things, which is our time and the brains. How we divide our time, we should be able to divide our time properly, to be able to say, part of my 24 hours, I'll take better care of my health.
Okay.
And you need to research more about your health. Like you now know about your family history. It's important for us to know about family history. But also need to know that if you have a car that is Toyota, when it gives you problems, you might take it to Toyota.
Yes.
That's your God and your doctor. If you have the body, you should consult. That they say a wise man learns from his mistakes.
Okay.
But a genius will learn from other people's mistakes. Who are those people? A wise man learns from his mistakes, but a genius will learn from other people's mistakes. Who are those people? Those people are coaches and mentors.
Okay.
Those are fathers? Who's your father in the health space? Who's your father in the spiritual space? Who's your father in the career space? Who's your father in the business space? Because that's where you learn. That's where. So it's important for us to have a father in the health space, knowing that you are able to go, and it's important that you make time and say, as much as I'm taking my car for service 4 times a year, even if I don't feel sick, I must go and check.
Yes.
Do you know that your heart age and your real age are not the same? Do you know that your heart age and your real age are not the same? You see a beautiful car that you are driving. Do you know the engine might look older than the body?
Yes.
Do you know that the engine might be looking older than the body? Do you know that you must go for a medical checkup? And what is a medical checkup? People don't know. And I was saying the reason I'm talking about diabetes and insulin and injection. The greatest fear is not with patients, it's with doctors, as I indicated earlier. At times, even as doctors don't know what you need to do with you when you're there. But it's you who must know more about your health more than I do. You need to tell me, Doc, I have not done my ECG, which is electrocardiogram. I haven't checked if my heart is normal. I haven't checked my prostate, my PSA. I haven't checked my kidneys, which is GFR. Because before we come to treatment, we must come to investigations.
Oh, yes.
You must know your kidney status, because the food we eat, the proteins we eat, they turn into waste. And the more the waste, the more the kidneys are not working properly.
Okay.
The more the kidneys not working properly, the more the weight. So from time to time, you must go and do a test called kidney function. It will tell you about the creatinine levels. If they are too high, you must know that you are closer to dialysis.
Okay.
And they will be able to tell you, don't eat proteins. Reduce your protein level in your food, because it's too bad for you. You need to know your hemoglobin levels. You need to go and check your stools, especially if you are over 50. They must go and check your stools if there's what you call alkali blood, because there are cancers in the stomach that they bleed. By the time we realize, it's too late. It's important for me to go and check that. It's important for me, as I indicate, to check as a woman, to go and check cervical cancer. It's important to check uterine cancer. It's important to go and say, I want to do gastroscopy to check the stomach and the intestines with that scope, the globe that they put inside, so that we can see what's happening. So those are the checkups. And we know that if you talk about diabetes, it's important to check your HbA1c. Or you must know that the sugar levels for 3 months, it will tell you if it's higher. And the more what you call HbA1c, it checks the sugar for a period of 3 to 6 months. The higher the HbA1c, the higher the chance of complications. And the complications I talked about blindness. I talked about stroke. I talked about erectile dysfunction that I was talking about. And I talked about amputation, because this is the kind of disease that affects your blood vessels. They say somebody was sitting on a hot plate and was telling people, oh, something's burning there. Because somebody was walking and yet a 5 rand coin underneath the feet, and was stuck there for a month because he can't feel it. This is the kind of the disease we're talking about. So if we to talk about medication, I indicated earlier 2 things: either oral medication or injection. We get there, we talk about modification. All of us have to modify our lifestyle, and in modifying our lifestyle, it's important that we eat healthy. Eating healthy, I mentioned, and the second part is exercises. 30 minutes of exercise a week, 30 minutes of 5 days a week, very important. That's 50 minutes of exercise every week, very, very important. Because as you exercise, the sugar get absorbed by the muscles. You take a test. Before you test your sugar, before you exercise and after, you realize there's a difference. So exercise is a triad. It's exercise, it's medication, it's diet. That's the treatment for diabetes. And when you talk about diabetes treatment, you'll talk medication, which is oral or insulin. But the biggest of them all is being able to test yourself.
Okay.
We wish every household will have a glucometer, whereby you'll be able to test your sugar levels, like your car have a speedometer. Do you think taking a sugar level once a month is good enough? Because you might test the sugar after eating, and it might say 30, and you'll be depressed for the whole month, waiting for the other month end. So it's important for the person to have his glucometer.
Oh, Doc, thanks so very much. I just want to take a few questions that our viewers are asking. Mama Grace Saganchak is saying, does it also cause joint pains?
Okay. I would say yes and no, because there could be conditions other than diabetes that lead to joint pains, but it causes general body pains. So you need to see our nearest doctor to check if you are diabetic. What else could be? But diabetes causes inflammation and can cause inflammation around the joints, which can also be deformed. But there could be other conditions that lead to that.
Thank you so very much. And somebody says there are people who have been diagnosed. They know that they're diabetic, but they will prefer to say no because of their spiritual beliefs or their beliefs. They'll prefer to say no, I'll pray and not take medication. Being also a spiritual person, what would be your advice for such?
I think it's important that, as I mentioned earlier on, that it is good for us as people to have a balanced life. Your health is first wealth, and you know that spiritually God does everything, does its part, but God wants people who do something for themselves. So it cannot be God who's doing everything for us. It's important for you to take better care of yourself, and that I'll take that to be ignorance. Yes.
True. And Doc, we just left with 3 minutes, but we have asked, our viewers have asked, but there is something that you feel is very much important for us, even as men. One thing that is very true with men, the moment they tell you, or the moment you realize that sexually you are down, you cannot perform, that's where we run up and down. That's where we seek help at all costs. What are those things that you'd love to share to us, specifically as men, when it comes to our wholeness and total health, not only looking at sexual health, but looking at our health in general, which then will help us? You spoke about exercises, which is wellness, but what is it that you have in your heart that you would love to share with us in these 3 minutes that are left?
I must say we need to have an understanding about health and understanding about issues of sex, especially men, because women have invested a lot of time in understanding sex. And then it's important that it's important sometimes to make time aside for, I'm saying, either Saturday afternoon or Saturday afternoon or Sunday afternoon or whatever. Sex is like going to Spare, where we have starter, main course, and dessert. Men only go for starter and they are finished. It's not good for women. It's not good, and it's important to use prescribed tablets. It's important for you men to know that if I've used like we have tablets like Cialis, we have tablets like Viagra. It's important. Every household must have that tablet. Yeah, and you must ask and get permission from your wife. Should I use the tablet today or not? Because there are so much unfulfilled needs in relationships. There are so much unfulfilled needs in relationships. The reason this have been created and they are prescribed after using a tablet, Cialis or Viagra, it gets excreted completely. But I know that we must have another session where we talk to men and women about relationships and sexual intercourse, because God has created this. That's why men and women were not ashamed when they were found naked. And this is the reason why we come together. And we are not talking about it, and it's killing our nation.
Doc, we want to say thank you so very much. And that session also, we will really organize it so that we are able to talk about it, because true, people are destroyed, as the Bible says, because of lack of knowledge. And we just want to take this time and appreciate you for taking your time, sharing this valuable information with us. And of course, you spoke of the Health and Wellness Day on the 3rd of December in Mahwelerin Stadium. And how can people be part of that?
The question is about awareness, and it's also about fundraising, because as Fallen Trust and Medical Center, We wish to do so much for your communities.
Mm.
As it stands, we find ourselves invited, like today we've been invited to about 3 events, whereby myself as a doctor, I need to be in my office. And if I'm not in my office, who's paying for my bills? Senoamadi. But at the same time, we want to be donating glucometers that we're talking about. We want to be helping communities and so on. So we also want to fundraise and also want to make awareness. So in whatever way you can partner with Holland Trust, we can partner with Rotary, and we also want to appreciate one of the sons and of the soil, the late Dr. Tata. May his soul rest in peace. Whereby he passed on just yesterday. We are commemorating. We shared a cake about his birthday, but also to see a monument lighting at his place, just to say we appreciate the work. He has been a doctor for more than 40 years in our town, in Mokopane. He has been an inspiration, he has been a pillar. So for those who knows him, must please support him, support us. And we are saying on Holland Trust Facebook and Holland Medical Center, you can see this where we're sharing. But on Bold Moves also, you can follow us and also add. We are in partnership with the Ramatlaotle company who will be assisting us. We'll be talking to media houses, but we want to make this day big. But also saying, as Limpopo, there must be a reason for people to flock down to Limpopo than going to Gauteng or Cape Town. And we want to make this day big. But we believe there will be raises, there will be walks, there will be education, there will be screening, there will be testing, and there will be,
Thank you so very much.
With us,
Thank you so very much.
Okay, this is the healthy lifestyle, programs. They start working and running on this day. I appreciate the opportunity.
Well, thank you so very much. We'll definitely want to be part of that. It's very much important. You have opened our eyes. Like I said, awareness is for everything, and also having shared about diabetes itself, but also looking at the health and wellness campaign that you are doing is just very heartwarming and eye-opening. You know, some are saying they are not about checks. They are not. In fact, people are working every day. They're trying to make a living. They're trying to make money, but we are not taking care of the instrument that must bring all that wealth. So thank you so very much. We really appreciate it.
If you can make time for wellness, make time for illness. Be ready. Yes, and if you can make time for wellness.
In fact, if you are not making time for wellness, you already are making time for sickness.
For sickness already. Unconsciously, yes.
Doug, thank you so very much. I will definitely invite you again. I chose to zoom into men's health, and I think men and women, couples alike, sexual health very critical. Many marriages have fallen apart because there's no knowledge in that area, and we really need knowledge. I'll really invite you, Doc, so that we continue. Thank you again, Doc, for taking your time after a hectic day and come and be with us and impart such knowledge. We really appreciate.
We are together. The number is 082 3726 922. 082 3726 372 922.
Okay, will you repeat it, Doc?
082 3726 922.
922.
It's also on WhatsApp.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Let me just put it on the screen so that people can be able to continue having
and we are in Polokwane, 105 Dal Street. That's where you can find Dr. Senoamadi. And in Mokopane, 31 Reiter Street. It will be good to use that number to book. Oh,
that will be great. Thank you so very much. I'm putting the number on the screen for all our viewers and our listeners. The number is, for our listeners, the number is 082 372 6922. And then there is the number on the screen. I'm just throwing it straight away. There is the number scrolling there, and that is Dr. Senoamadi. And they are on Dal Street in Polokwane. When you are on Dal going up Risik, you turn to the left on Dal Street, and then Folang is right almost toward the end of the street. Thank you so very much, Doc, and we cannot appreciate you enough. And have a blessed evening, and thank you again for empowering us and for opening our eyes. And I would love to say to our listeners, to our viewers, thank you so very much for having come through. We trust that you have been empowered, because we've spoken about issues that concerns us all. And family, remember, if you are not making a plan for your health, you already have made a plan for sickness. So if you wake up in the morning and you have no plan, please go back to sleep, because you are dead while you're walking. Hey, and make sure that you're not dying at 25 only to be buried at 90 or 60. Very, very, very much important. Thank you, family, and have yourself a blessed evening. This Bold Moves Radio, boldly breaking barriers and limitations, raising the flag of hope for an African child. And to Dr. Senoamadi, thank you so very much.